CNA recently celebrated our Silver Jubilee with an event that gathered prominent figures from across the region.
Today, CNA has established itself in 29 territories, bringing the Asian perspective to tens of millions of viewers across the region.
As we mark 25 years of service, we are working on new initiatives to grow our existing base, meet new needs, and reach out to new audiences.
The night was filled with lively conversations and a shared sense of pride in CNA's achievements.
I certainly wish that CNA after 25 years can go from strength to strength. I think continue fiercely to invest in your efforts to do reporting from an Asian perspective and really double your presence on the ground so that we can get more deep coverage.
So beyond the hard news, I really enjoy the documentaries, many of which are award-winning. As someone who originates from outside this region, it's a great way to culturally assimilate and understand the global developments from an Asian lens. So thank you for expanding my perspectives.
I'm sure CNA will continue to thrive in the future, embracing innovation and digital transformation, and yet staying true to its focus of bringing fresh and trusted perspective.
As CNA embarks on our next chapter, one thing remains certain: our dedication to bringing Asia to the world. This is Asia First.
Good morning, it's 7 o'clock here in Singapore. I'm Arnold Gay. The headlines this hour: Israel vows to exact the price from Iran for the unprecedented overnight barrage of drone and missile strikes, even as it faces international pressure to de-escalate. The Biden administration tells Benjamin Netanyahu to think carefully about any retaliation. G7 leaders walk a fine line, calling on Tehran to exercise restraint and pledging to work towards an immediate and sustainable ceasefire in Gaza amid concerns of a wider regional conflict.
Because we have deliberations with our partners, we are considering all options, and I'm quite confident that we will take the necessary steps that are necessary to protect and defend our people. We are not war seekers. I think I would leave it at that.
I'm Sarah Alcalde with Business News. I'll bring you the market reaction as tensions rise in the Middle East and as investors weigh the risk of an Israeli retaliation. Oil falling slightly at the start of trade, although analysts expect crude prices to gain as the region accounts for 40% of global exports. Any impact on shipping also closely watched, with Iran threatening to shut down the world's single most important oil passageway, the Strait of Hormuz. Plus, in focus this week, China's economic scorecard as it struggles to energize domestic demand and cope with a persistent property slump.
I'm Elizabeth Neo. Balancing trade and geopolitical concerns, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz begins his China visit as Berlin seeks to de-risk its relationship with Beijing. There is growing scrutiny over Chinese EV exports flooding European markets. Plus, Germany also wants China's support in influencing Russia amid the war in Ukraine. Well, at least 19 people killed and more missing after a landslide in the central Indonesian island of Sulawesi. Heavy rains and damage to roads into the affected areas complicate rescue efforts.
Accelerating climate action. I'm Julie Yu, live at the Ecosperity Week in Singapore. It's an annual flagship sustainability event, and we'll be hearing from the representatives of businesses, academia, and governments throughout the day.
The G7 group of countries has condemned Iran's first ever direct strikes on Israel and warned they risk provoking an uncontrollable escalation in the Middle East.
Calls for restraint have come in from global powers and Arab nations amid fears of an open warfare erupting between the regional rivals. Leaders of the G7 countries have offered their full support to Israel and say they are ready to take more measures in response to further destabilizing initiatives. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, in a separate statement, spoke of possible additional sanctions against Iran, specifically on its drone and missile programs.
We will continue